Hey guys, it's awesome to be with you, kind of. With Kimberly right around the corner of having the baby, thought it best that I kind of take a step back out of the presence with everybody just for the health and safety because we don't know when she's going to go in labor. It could be any day now. And so I thought this to be the best way that I can continue to be involved and then also set you guys up to be able to have some great discussion and break out into groups. So what I want to do today is just guide through just a little bit with just where we're going with Advent and everything, and then send you guys out to break out into groups and have some great discussion. So congratulations, welcome. We did it. We are finally right around the corner from December, and for the first time in a long time, Advent starts outside of December, and today is the first day of Advent. And as you guys know, we're doing a whole series on Advent, and today the series kicks off with a week called He Humbles Our Hearts as We Wait. And the whole idea of Advent is waiting in anticipation for the coming of the Lord and Savior. And so today we enter into that first week. I remember a long time ago, like 10, 15 years ago, I remember driving out with a group of friends. We wanted to get out of the city and we wanted to go up into the mountains, and everyone wanted to go stargazing. It was going to be one of the first times that like this the earth was going to be in this position to be able to see this running of stars. And to be honest, I don't even know what this thing is called, but everybody else was obsessed with it. I was a go for it. So we all jump into a car and we head up to the mountains. It's the dead of night. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning. We all make this drive. It was a couple-hour drive. We get up there. We all get out, and everybody brought sleeping bags and blankets, and we all just right on the side of the road at this pull out. We all just laid out, and we just laid under the stars just to stare up at the sky. And to be honest, it was one of the coolest things I've ever seen in my life. We looked up, and I've never seen an aurora borealis, the thing that's up in the north. I've never seen that before. I've only ever seen it in movies or videos and things like that. But when I looked up to the sky, it was incredible. I saw more stars than I've ever seen in my life, and there was these color effects, these changes that were happening in the sky, much like what I assume is something like the aurora borealis, but not as extreme. Just there was just these colors of cascading and flowing, and it was supposed to be one of the only times that you'd ever see it in your lifetime from being able to be in California. And I remember just sitting there and just staring. And as I was just taking in all the stars, the beauty, God's creation, after about 30 seconds, I said, "All right, cool, I'm good. Let's go." But I could looked around and I could tell I was the only person that was over it. Everybody else just wanted to sit there for hours. And I remember, like, for the first time in my life, realizing I'm a little different than most people. I just don't care to look at pretty things. We're sitting underneath the stars. I'm looking at these other people that are just like in total awe, and they're all talking about it. And I don't get it. Like, yeah, it's pretty. Yeah, it's cool. And I remember that being the first time kind of really confronting and realizing I'm not good with being still. I am not good with waiting. I am not good at just like being able to sit and go deep. And to be honest, that's ran a lot into my spiritual life as I have grown as a believer, and especially as a pastor, with things like prayer and sitting in quiet and having to listen and go deep, because I'm a doer and I just want to go, I want to do, I want to talk, and I want to progress. But what's taken years to learn is that there's actually progress to be had in waiting. And that's week one. That's where we're at in the start of Advent, to get our hearts right, to get in the right place of anticipation and waiting and expectation of God. It starts with the waiting. Waiting is very difficult because waiting is something that we do to or the opposite of waiting is doing. We like to do things, and doing takes our mind off of what is present. If we do, we have a sense of accomplishment. We have a sense of, like I said earlier, progress, and inevitably, what doing does is it doesn't allow us to become vulnerable. Because in order to be vulnerable, we have to stop and we have to open up. Doing allows us to not be vulnerable, and it keeps us going. In fact, for a lot of us, we use our projects and we use doing things as a shield, as a mechanism to protect us from vulnerability and from hurt. And it's not only in our earthly relationship, but also in our heavenly relationship with God, in that if I just do these things in my faith, then I don't need to sit and reflect on who I am as a person. If I do these things for God, then I can check those things off, and I can say God's proud of me because look at what I've done. However, we ignore the vulnerability aspect of an intimate personal relationship with God and going, how am I as a person with Jesus? How am I doing with God? And the word that would be more focused on is our being. How is my being with God? And so we shift from this waiting and just simply being to this person of doing. And that's where we can get caught up, and that's where we can miss things. And what Advent is all about is the waiting and the simply being and slowing down and listening for God and expecting God. And so today I want to focus in on that waiting and in that just being of self, because it's the trick is we want safety, we want to work out our own way, we want to depend on ourselves. And when we depend on ourselves, that is actually the beginning to our end when it comes to God. If Advent is all about the anticipation and entering into a space of dependency on God, it would make sense that the opposite of that would be to focus on accomplishments and doing. And when we focus on those things, it actually takes us away from God, because the whole point of Christianity, the whole point of having a Savior, is that He is our Savior. He is our help. I mean, where does the Bible tells us, where does my help come from? It's from heaven. It's from God. It's turning to the hills and seeing our Savior there. And so what Advent does is we enter into a season of waiting and being still and realizing I am not my own Savior. I remember it was just, I think, a year after being married to Kimberly. We were out visiting. We were living in Arizona. We came out here to California. We were visiting for a friend's wedding. And we run out the day before the wedding to get some sandwiches for everybody. And we get out of the car. We're going to Board and Brew. We get out of the car, and she hits her wedding ring on the door, and she goes, "Oh my gosh, a diamond just fell out of my ring." And so we get onto the parking lot on the asphalt, and we start searching the ground, and we're feeling around, we're looking around for this diamond. And so we're all kind of frantic and in a hurry, trying to figure out where could it go, where has it gone. And asphalt, it's shiny, it's got little stones like inside of the asphalt, inside of the tar and everything. So we're looking, we can't find it. And by the grace of God, I don't know what came over me. I just thought, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to stop. I'm going to turn away. I'm going to face away from where I think the ring is. And then I'm going to just turn around really fast and see if my eye can catch a glimmer or something. So I face away from it, and then I count to 3, and I just did a 180 quick turn. And sure enough, I just see the shine of the diamond, and I go and I pick it up, and it's this little itty bitty little speck. It's one of the little diamonds that surround the main diamond. And I saw this little guy, and I pick it up. I'm like, we found the diamond, and we couldn't believe it. And it's so itty bitty, and but yet it took a moment of not being in the hurry, not being able to see what was in front of us, not getting caught up. We gotta find it, and just stopping, getting our focus off of the immediate, and then turning around with a fresh look and being able to see something that was before us the whole time. And this is our experience with God. We get so caught up in the doing. We get so caught up at trying to do Christianity and do the God thing, that when we intentionally stop and we wait and we embrace a Savior, that's when we get to see God for who he is. That's when we get to see God for what he means in our life and what he has to offer in our life. When we realize that we're not enough and that he is the enough. When we wait, we experience the God who has always been there, who's always been like, hey, I just want to talk to you. Hey, I want to do this thing with you. But we've been so caught up in the doing that we haven't actually listened and we haven't actually experienced. When we wait, we experience. When we wait, we become aware. And that is the encouragement today as we move forward into Advent, as we move forward in our walk of expecting the Savior to come, expecting the birth, expecting the return, is that, as we talked about last week, God is present now. If we would just simply wait and become aware, let go of control, or as Pastor Mark would say, let go and let God. And so my encouragement today is that we would just simply enter into a time of waiting, and that we would enter into a time of intentionally becoming aware. Well, I love you guys, and I'll see you next week. Hopefully, we'll see when this baby comes. But now there's going to be some questions for you guys to dive in a little bit deeper on what it looks like to wait and what the Bible has to say about the waiting process in growing closer to God. And so I'm praying for you guys. I hope you have a great discussion, and I hope to be able to join you back in fellowship very soon. See you guys.